London has officially announced 3 players that will be in their lineup moving forward into franchising. And surprisingly, I actually saw a decent amount of backlash, which for me was somewhat unwarranted, kind of considering that these are simply just 3 players. This is not the entirety of the team, but I think, for a majority of the fan base, I think for London themselves, the entire kind of fan base around that location, they've got to be somewhat stoked about this team. Now, one thing that I will say that I will discredit them on is the announcement. I mean, come on, literally. You look at this group and you think, wow. And then we get this announcement of Scraps pretty much sitting on a couch, just explaining that he's now on the team. And after all of the rumors that were going back and forth, it was just nice to finally see that something had happened. And then we get that. I would have at least taken a graphic. I think a nice graphic, maybe a short highlight reel type video, and boom, you're out of the water. But announcements aside, this is a great group to really kind of work off of, one that publicly has been kind of notioned that these 3 guys really wanted to play alongside each other, even despite seeing, which I talked about, the Scraps and Wiskin's tweets that saying, hey, we aren't teaming, this is serious, we, unfortunately aren't actually able to work together. I still thought there could be some bait behind that, I think, regardless of whether or not what they were saying. I thought that some way, somehow, this brother duo may actually end up winding out together, even based off the amount of times that they addressed it. For me, at least, kind of seemed as if, hey, they're probably going to be, repping the same organization, if you will. But one of my favorite pictures, actually, from CW Champs this year was actually from Scraps. It was whenever he was eliminated after FaZe had been kind of knocked out. He was there for the next day, rooting on his brother in the crowd, and actually even crying at the fact that Reciprocity and Wiskin were moving forward. And it really was kind of an enlightening picture, because emotions were incredibly high at that event. And seeing Wiskin kind of wear his brother's jersey was awesome to see. And as much as their banter can kind of be fun to watch whenever they face off against each other, I think it's going to be just as fun, if not even better, to watch them in tandem together. So you've got the brother duo, right? You've got the twins together. I know they're not necessarily twins, but they look exactly alike. We will just call them twins, who of course have chemistry together because they're brothers, right? But also because they've teamed previously and actually got a decent kick, right, when it came down to their time on Fnatic and Infinite Warfare, as that started to kind of carry forward in to World War II whenever they were under Unilad as well. So you've got a long run and a multiple event chemistry between these two, and then you also throw in the fact that Wiskin has teamed with Dylan, right, on Reciprocity. They go into champs this year and finish off 6th. So they've got a ton of chemistry and they've got a ton of talent. And then you also say, oh yeah, by the way, we have Dylan. We just casually have Dylan, by far one of the best players in Black Ops 4, had an unreal season for him, kind of started off on a few different brands, obviously found himself onto the Reciprocity crew, and clearly proved himself to be one of the best players in the world, and arguably the best player in all of Europe. And like I said, he's going to be an absolute menace to any roster that he faces off against. His speed and overall accuracy when it came down to the SMG this year was pretty much an almost unparalleled. I mean, the amount of stats and statistics that kind of came from this guy, his ability to start off maybe a little bit slow in a map and then to instantly start to carry on forward. I remember, the tweets that kind of came through talking about a specific series that Dylan was involved in which he started off, in a very, low expectation or kind of a low stat line, and then instantly improved and went like 26-4. Like on a run like that, absolutely unbelievable. And he was able to kind of flip the switch exactly when the team needed to. And a lot of times people even compared it to the fact that Reciprocity would often play alongside whatever, Dylan could kind of do. He was by far the driving force on the team. And the reason why Reciprocity saw a ton of success after they added him was, of course, because Dylan was the key factor for the team. And the reason why, like I said, they saw such a high placement, especially at champs. Now, one thing, just to kind of round off, Dylan was what? He was number 1 in hardpoint pressure rating. He was number 1 in hardpoint kills per 10 minutes. He was number 1 in hardpoint score per minute. I think he was also number 1 in hardpoint multi-kills rating as well. So the guy obviously dominates when it comes in a hard point. He was fantastic kind of across the board and had some very, very good stats. Like you look at the stats and you say, oh, well, they're decent. But you got to be considering the role that he was playing, how aggressive he was, the amount of engagements that he is involved with per game. Those stats are absolutely fantastic, and you cannot take anything away from it. And as I called out, right, Dylan, a top player from Europe, now in combination with Scraps, arguably defined by the community as the 2 best players in EU. EU, now in combination with Wiskin, who I think will fare off very well, especially when it comes down to more of a slow-paced title, to be exact. And I also love that the London crowd will really have a major passion behind these guys, right? Because, of course, everyone knows when we were watching Reciprocity kind of through the end of the season, especially at CWL Champs, we kind of saw the momentum that they would carry on with. They really kind of took a big kind of boost, if you will, when it came down to the crowd. Like I said, they've got Dylan, they've got Scraps, they've got Wiskin. These guys together are really going to accept the crowd. They're really going to enjoy every single time that they'll be playing in London, throughout this season, which we'll see how often that occurs. But I think just in general, to represent this particular location, these three guys will absolutely run with it. They will. And I think that's awesome to kind of see. He said you've got talent, you've got chemistry, and kind of not necessarily most importantly, but one of the biggest factors is that you have passion. And I think, like I said, I think that London really kind of supplied all the deliverables when it comes down to these first three. And now there's a lot of rumors and speculation on who will be kind of filling out, the rest of this team, and we'll have to really kind of watch out for that. But I think these three guys in tandem together are going to be a sight to really watch, or they're going to be a sight to behold. This will be one of my designated teams to kind of watch out for, to see how Scraps and Dylan can work together, because if orchestrated right, and if the right pieces are put around this core three, they will absolutely be contenders, no doubt in my mind.